Okay guys, you ready? Today we're going to cover 10 steps on how to have a massive breakthrough in your real estate career or in your life. Just those 10 steps. Let's go. Okay team, here it is. How do you have a massive breakthrough? That's really what it comes down to, right? Like massive change that alters your perception. That's what a massive breakthrough is to me. And to me, it starts with like little tiny wins, right? We're going to go super, super deep with 10 steps today, but little wins are going to equal discipline, and discipline is going to equal a breakthrough. So I'm going to start with number one. It's almost always all of my clients, everybody I know, myself included, it usually starts with a breakdown. So sometimes you have to have a massive breakdown so that you can have a massive breakthrough. If we don't have that breakdown, we really don't know where the bottom is, and we really don't have that motivation sometimes to really strive and hit the top. I'm going to give you a great example. Back in the 90s, I was selling real estate, I was doing mortgage, I owned a nightclub, I was doing all kinds of things. We owned a company that was building custom cars and exporting them to Japan, and we would ship 30 or 40 cars a month. I was really into cars, I've always been into cars. And so during the day I would sell real estate or mortgage and run this car company. Well, one of our employees took off for Japan in the middle of the night, released like 40 cars, and we had a multi-million-dollar bankruptcy. Like we lost everything. We had personal guarantees on everything. It was a true breakdown. And when I say breakdown, I mean depressing breakdown. When this happened, you question yourself. You question everything about what you do. And for me, I was questioning, what the decisions that I made for my family, for my employees, for everybody. I decided at that point that, it was probably better if I focused on the things that I was really good at, which was mortgage and real estate. So I went right back into real estate full time. I think it was 1999. And while I was doing that, I had an opportunity to build a mortgage company, and I started directlender.com, our mortgage company. Over the next 5 years with the help of some of the top coaches in this industry now, we built that company to, about 3,000 employees, 3,000 branches and employees all over the nation. So, that's what you're capable of when you have a breakdown. So just when I thought, things were bad, they got really, really good, right? So, I'll give you another great example. In 2008, we had Direct Lender. We owned a franchise of a real estate company. We had about 100 agents, and the crash happened and we lost everything. I mean, everything. Well, next thing you know, my lawyer who's helping represent us talks me into going to Nepal. I was not a guy that camped, really. I went to Nepal. I helped him, co-found an orphanage. And the guys that are editing this video right now are from that orphanage from 12 years ago. And it changed my life. Like everything about my life changed in that moment. In my deepest, darkest hour of despair, I figured out what was super, super important for me, and I had a massive breakthrough. So sometimes it takes a massive breakdown to have breakthrough, so that's step number one. Step number two, you have to choose to succeed. You have to choose a path. You have to level up to the challenge. If you don't choose to succeed or choose a path, how are you going to level up? Think about it for a second. It may sound simplistic, but success is a choice. If you don't choose, then you can't succeed. It's just that simple. Either you desire to succeed or you don't. You take the first step towards positive outcomes. You have to want to move in the right direction. So if you're tired of being where you are, I want you to choose to succeed, and I want you to move in the right direction. So step three, you have to adapt a great attitude. Clear your mind for a second. Decide what you need to do and adjust your mindset accordingly. Think about this. If you don't have the right attitude, if you don't have the right mindset, every small challenge you have is going to get you off of course. It doesn't matter how good your map is. It doesn't matter if you have a coach like me showing you the way, you're not going to stay on track. So if you got to adjust your mindset and adjust your mind and make sure you stay on track. I'm going to give you guys a great example of that because I think it's super important. I probably had about 40 or 50 clients when COVID hit. And about 20 of my clients were literally hiding under their desk on our coaching calls. And I don't mean hiding under their desk. I mean, they were so scared and so upset that they thought there was no chance for them to succeed. They thought their business was over, they were going to die, and the world was crashing. The other 30 or more clients were like, this is an opportunity. I have an opportunity to take advantage of this. Like, what would happen if I view this as an opportunity and I turn this challenge into a triumph, right? Those clients started each day with an attitude of gratitude, right? They started each day quickly approaching different parts of their business and shifting and pivoting. They started doing video, a ton of video in COVID, right? They started doing video showings. They started doing video open houses. And all of my clients, not most, not one, not two, all of my clients that pivoted at that point had their best year ever in 2020. So think about that for a second, you guys. Think about this. For you guys, we can either, crawl under the desk and hide, or we can have our best year ever. What's it gonna be, right? Step 4, we need to create the systems. We need to create focus on what's important. We need to think long-term and vision. We need to, have objectives, and we need to set aggressive goals, right? So when I say set aggressive goals, I mean like big enough to scare you, like really scare you, but not paralyze you. For years and years, and I don't know who coined the phrase, I've read it a bunch of times, but I forget right now, we would set what we call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. So a BHAG. Now I'm one of those guys that loves setting big goals for all of my clients. As long as my clients don't, get crushed if they don't hit their goal. If we set a goal that's double what they thought they could do and we end up just short of that and they're still going to be excited about it, then that's good. I have some clients when they set a goal, if they don't reach it, they're crushed even if they've tripled their best year ever. So in your mind, set a big goal and just, win even if you fall a little bit short of that goal. This is what I love to do. I love to set goals so big that people laugh. Think about that for a second. I set goals so big that people laugh, and the reason I do that is because when I achieve them, I know they're crying inside. When I started the mortgage company, I had hired my coach at the time, who was a coach for Mike Ferry, to come in and help me expand the mortgage company. And I had hired a few other people, and I had explained to them what my goal was for my first year. And literally everybody that worked for me thought I had lost my mind. At the end of that first year, we were on a cruise. And I'll talk more about that cruise later in this, because there was an accountability in that cruise that was pretty crazy. But we were on a cruise, and one of the first employees came to me and said, I thought you were so full of shit. I thought there was no way you could possibly hit your goals, but I needed the money and I needed the job, so I came to work for you. And then here we are, and we've achieved that goal. No one ever built a business by winging it, right? So you have to set goals. When you're truly honest with yourself, you will realize that creating processes and systems and goals get you there. The secret is set a goal, put a system in place, and go after it, right? What sacrifice will you need to make to achieve this goal? You have to be ready to sacrifice. How long will it take? What is the reward when you reach it, right? That's the big part about setting goals. So step 6, you guys, massive action, right? It takes massive action to get things going. You have to embrace planning. You have to embrace pivoting. You have to, when needed, embrace anything that gets you towards your goal. It has been said that the distance between dreams and reality is action. I can't tell you how many dreamers I coach that truly want to get into action. Here's the crazy thing. Think about this for a second, you guys. It's common for me to bring 3 new people into my coaching system. With Tom Ferry, they'll assign 3 people in a similar situation, in a similar time, in their first year in the business. And for one of them to literally explode, to do $1 million in GCI in their very first year in the business, to launch a YouTube channel, to just do everything that they say they're going to do and have huge success. I've had a first year agent, and she'll know who she is, who started with me in her very first year, who bought her own building, who started her own brokerage, and pushed that $1 million GCI mark in her very first year. Here's the crazy part. There'll be 2 other agents that have just as many skills, that have just as good of an attitude, who will fail miserably. And the difference between those 2 and the one that succeeds is the one that succeeded got into massive action. So if you're not ready to get into massive action, then you need to get ready to be normal. You need to continue to be normal. Remember, the world is filled with people with good intentions. Your intentions aren't going to get you there. The hardest part of action is waiting for results, right? So that's the big challenge. So we get you into massive action and you're waiting for results and you don't realize, if it's going to work. You're starting to think, I don't think this is going to work. I've been doing this over and over again and I'm not getting the results I want. So not only do you have to stay into action, but you have to stay in it for the long term. You need to understand that when you get into action, you will create new habits and skills, and they will give you the tools that will eventually get you mastery, right? You must go into this with a blind faith. You must go into it with the knowledge that you're likely going to fail multiple times before you succeed. This is probably the most important thing that in this whole entire 10 steps, right? If you can just get this one thing, if you can just understand this one thing, this will help you achieve massive success. On average, it takes more than 2 months before a new behavior or a new habit becomes automatic. So even if we're using James Clear and Atomic Habits, or if we're setting bigger habits, I would rather you guys set a bunch of small habits that will create discipline. That discipline will create bigger habits and we'll have that atomic explosion, right? But on average, it takes 66 days. It takes 2 months before a new behavior comes automatic. And actually, it's 66 days to be exact, right? There's a bunch of science behind this. And how long it takes a new habit to form can vary widely depending on the behavior. Okay, now think about this for a second. The person, the circumstances, what's happening, your success, your failures. Habits need some type of success or you eventually give up, right? There was a recent study where it took anywhere from 18 days to 254 days for people to form new habits. Interestingly enough, when habits created success or when they saw results, they formed faster, right? But here's the most important thing about this study that I read. The researchers also found that missing one opportunity to perform the behavior did not materially affect the habit formation process. This is super important for you guys because every one of you has off days. I'm not endorsing it. I don't want you to have off days, and I couldn't have off days when I was coached because my coach would scream at me. But when you have an off day, in other words, it doesn't matter if you mess up every now and then, get back on the horse. If you blow your diet, get back on the diet. If you blow your prospecting one day, get caught up, start prospecting the next day. Because as long as you do that, building better habits is not an all or nothing process. Here's something for you guys. Listen, if you do this, I'm going to teach you a way to make it super, super simple. If you do this and you do it steadily and you do it for 365 days, you're going to develop what's called a new neural pathway. That's when your habit just is no longer a habit, it becomes second nature. Now it's wired into your brain to do it. Have you ever had friends, or maybe you're one of those people that goes to the gym every single day and has every single day for 10 years? It's a neural pathway. There's nothing that takes you away. I got that way in prospecting, when I was in real estate, when I was being coached. Once I prospected for 3 years, 4 years in a row, prospecting was just part of my everyday routine. There was no days where I went into work and I thought, well, I'm not going to prospect today. That was the way I was taught, and it was the way that I found success. Okay, so just remember, stay on it 66 days, keep on it for 365 days, and then it becomes super easy, becomes mastery. Right? Track your progress. Step 7. There's an old law. It's called Pearson's law. When performance is tracked and measured, performance improves. Right? When performance is tracked, measured, and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So here's why we track it. In order to know if you're on the right path, you must consistently track and evaluate your progress, right? Marketing, we do split testing. That's like tracking our progress. Prospecting, this is how many dials we made, this is how many conversations we made, this is how many appointments we set, this is how many contracts we wrote. I'm going to give you guys a great example. When I started prospecting expired listings way back in the early 2000s, seriously, like really getting after expired listings, actually it was probably mid-90s, I was about 80 conversations to an appointment. So it took 80 conversations on an expired for me to make an appointment. Well, flash ahead 2 years, I was 20 conversations to appointment. So that skill set, that practice made it perfect, right? That tracking my progress made me realize exactly what was going to happen. So now here's what happened. I could have 100 calls where I didn't set any appointments and there was no change in my mood, my attitude, or my gratitude. I knew For every 20 conversations, I was going to have an appointment. And I knew sometimes it would be 200 conversations and I'd get 10 appointments in a row, or it'd be 105, or sometimes I get 5 appointments and then not have an appointment for the next 100 conversations. I was going to average 20 to 1 because I had tracked everything for 4 years. I had a quick little Excel spreadsheet. It was like boom, boom, boom. This is what happens. This is how it's going to go. So for me, when somebody was aggressive or mean or angry with me or told me where I could go, I was like, woohoo, time for the next call, because I didn't waste any time on that call and I was one call closer to an appointment. That's why tracking is important. There's no way for us to know what our performance is going to be, what our leading indicators or lagging indicators, unless you track. Step 8, this one's important. This is probably the most important step. Seriously, guys. Insane accountability. When I say insane accountability, I mean insane accountability. If you are one of those people that says accountability doesn't work for me, you're full of shit. Do you know how many of my clients say, oh, well, that doesn't work or this doesn't work? Here's what I will tell you. There's 2 types of accountability in this world. There's 2 types of people. There's people that run away from fear, and there are people that run towards pleasure. And the people that run towards pleasure, a fear-based accountability is not as effective. It's still effective, I promise, and I'll give you a story about that too. And there's people that are run away from fear. Pleasure-based accountability is not as effective. So let me give you a great example. My old coach, from Mike Ferry, who one of our old coaches here at Tom Ferry, one of the top coaches in the industry. He came to work for me for about 5 years, and we would always put kind of crazy accountability. And one of the accountabilities for him, he was a away from fear guy. He didn't like fear-based accountability. And every year we take everybody on a cruise, and this particular year he lost, and he had to wear white pants, white shoes, a white shirt, and a white captain's hat. And we had about 1,000 of our employees on the cruise, and everybody had to call him Captain Steubing for 7 days. And I think we had some fun with it. I think he hated it, but I think when he and I look back on it today, he loves it, right? It's one of those things where it's whatever it takes. And I don't care if your accountability is about you. A lot of my clients will make a donation to my charity as part of their accountability, and they get a feel good and a win at the same time. It's very common for me to tell one of my clients, you're flying to Park City, where I'm at today, and you're going to spend 2 days with me as my assistant, as your accountability. Now we're going to shoot a ton of video, we're going to do some script practice, we're going to do some role play, we're going to have some good wine, but I'm going to hold you accountable, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. It was very common for me with my wife to say, if I do this, this, and this, because I was a guy that ran towards pleasure, we're going to Italy for a week. If I don't, we're not going. But here's the great thing about that type of buy-in and accountability. When you're having multiple levels of accountability, when your family, when your kids, when your coach or your coworkers are helping hold you accountable, it also puts you in that situation where you don't feel like you're messing up. I'll give you a great example. My wife would call me at work and be like, where are you at with your calls? I'd be like, I'm here. She's like, don't come home. Like, don't come home tonight because we're going on that trip to Italy. And if you screw up, I'm going to be mad. So now instead of a wife that was angry that I was working too much, I had a wife that was like, you need to work harder. Like, you seriously need to work harder. It was the best accountability for me, because I knew that I had the support and the structure in place to make it happen. Okay, team, step 9. Reward yourself. And I mean really reward yourself. As you accomplish your goals, it's important to reward yourself along the way. Rewards act as a motivator. So if you're fear-based, we're setting some fear for your accountability, but we still have a reward for taking your actions, right? It provides an added incentive, and it'll give you that little extra push when you're feeling like you want to quit. Some of the most successful advisors and agents use a simple reward system, like allowing themselves to get a cup of coffee after making 5 calls. Think about that for a second. I live for coffee. If I didn't allow myself to have coffee until after 5 calls, my calls would be done so fast your head would spin. I'm like, that's easy, boom, 5 calls, so I can go get my coffee. I don't care what your reward is, but when you use this type of reward system consistently, you will form habits and continue to build your business, right? We do big rewards all the time, and that goes for my clients. Listen, some of my clients, I'm one of those all-in type of guys. If you do everything you say you're going to do for a month, maybe I'm going to fly to your office, I'm going to do 2 days of training for your office. Whatever it takes, make sure you have some type of accountability and some type of reward. Step 10. Make course corrections. Listen, team, this is a really, really simple one. If something's not working, you need to course correct. Now that's long term. If we're buying leads, let's say Google pay-per-click leads, and we're not converting at first, we have to analyze our skills. We have to analyze how quickly we respond to those leads. We have to analyze the team. Are we role playing? Are we doing script practice? Are we doing everything properly? And then if it's not working, we have to make changes. It's test, read, route. It's important to make course corrections from time to time, right? Take, for instance, having like a proven calling system, right? So you're prospecting and you've used it successfully to build your business, right? And we've mapped it out and we've taken action and we've recorded milestones and we've rewarded ourselves for the success. But all of a sudden something's changed and things are happening at a slower pace, and now we're not getting the results that we liked before. So this is called a course correction. We may need to look at our script. What's changed in the news lately? Listen, if you don't think every one of my clients' scripts have changed in the last 3 months, I'm doing this video just so you guys know in October of 2022, our market has taken a little pivot, right? So we're adjusting course, we're making a slight course correction, right? And we've reallocated what the target is, how to say it, what to say, and we're doing those course corrections. If you follow these steps, if you follow all 10 steps, I promise you will have a breakthrough in your business. It seems hard and it seems long, but this is all you have to do to break through. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, if you need any advice, if you ever need anything, just reach out to me. I'm always happy to help you guys. Thanks. Have a great day.